All right, Pickle, let's recap the college football weekend. Last Wednesday, we sat in this very studio, and we asked some burning questions about the college football weekend ahead of us. We can now try to answer those questions. We'll see how it goes. Where are we starting?
Let's start in the Big 12. The question was, what can we learn about Texas in 2022 this week? And they took down Kansas State. The final score was 22-17, and they finally break their long losing streak.
They get a win, and they end on a win. They go into the offseason with a little bit of momentum. And by the way, there was a chance. There were some people talking about a chance that Texas at 5-7 could make a bowl game. There are enough qualifying teams in bowls, so that would only have. They only go to 5-7 teams if not enough teams reach 6-6.
Right.
And so
that's very rare.
Enough teams reach. It happened I want to say 2018 it happened.
I mean, UNT got in one time because they're
it goes APR score,
which was 5-7.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. That's not going to happen this year, so Texas is not going bowling. We said that we thought that it was going to be a question of who wants to be there, right? Who wants to be a part of the future of the Texas program, because Steve Sarkisian's made it clear that if you don't want to be part of the program, there's the door. I think the defense showed out in this game. And look, Kansas State's offense is nothing to go crazy about, but they forced a pair of turnovers. They kept them from running the ball, which is really their bread and butter because Skylar Howard cannot throw. And from that point on, they were able to win the game. It was not always pretty. I think the offense has major work to do. I think they need a quarterback. I think they need to look in the transfer portal for a quarterback.
Yep.
And find some other guys, but
they didn't give up.
Overall, the defense took a step forward. So I would take a look at Texas, and especially on their defense, and look at that film and figure out who wants to be there. You always want to end on a win. I think 5-7 is a decided disappointment for Texas this year.
Absolutely, but it's better than
4-8. Better than 4-8. It's in fact one win better than 4-8. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's head over to Conference USA. The question was, will Jacob Cowing finish in the top 10 in receiving yards per game? The final score of that game, they fell to UAB 42-25, so a disappointment there, but...
Which we figured they would do. He had 5 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown, and as of right now, there are still games to be played, Army and Navy, and the conference title games and stuff like that, but... He presently ranks number 7 nationally at 111.9 yards per game.
Big goods.
He is, in fact, and he's about 7 yards ahead of. I mean, he should finish in the top 10 because there's not a ton of guys behind him who I think they can catch him.
Right.
So I think he's going to finish in the top 10.
That's awesome.
Which is a real achievement for a team that, boy, I'd love to know the last time they had a receiver in the top 10 nationally.
Yeah.
It's got to be decades. Because they just don't throw the ball that much, and haven't. Maybe Mike Price had one, but it has been a long time. So impressive stuff from Jacob Cowing, just a sophomore, a guy who I think his future is really bright. I don't think he profiles in the NFL all that much, so I don't think, even though he may be eligible to jump to the draft, I don't think that he necessarily would. And so I think that there's a lot of really exciting things going on there at UTEP to bring back. And obviously...
A 7-win season, and they're going bowling.
They await a bowl bid, so it's going to be a lot of fun what happens with UTEP. What's next, Pickle?
All right, back to the Big 12, and the question here does not matter, because the question was, if TCU wins, should the Horned Frogs accept a bowl invitation? You said no. Well, they're not going to get one anyway, because they got absolutely wrecked by Iowa State 48-14.
What a bizarre finish to the season.
Yeah,
what a bizarre finish.
The whole season.
They go and they beat Baylor. They beat Baylor, and then they go and then they get drilled
by Iowa
State. And remember, they got drilled by Oklahoma State, who of course may in fact be the conference champion. But everything, it was kind of total systemic failure in this game. Breece Hall ripped them limb from limb. Brock Purdy had one of his best passing games at Iowa State. And then also the offense just could not get anything going. Max Duggan was okay in this game. He was probably the best part of their offense.
Man, how many times have we said that statement?
But they very clearly missed Zach Evans, who, by the way, is in the transfer portal now. So it doesn't matter. They're not going to accept bowl bid. They introduced Sonny Dykes today as their new head coach. They're moving forward.
They flew him in yesterday on the helicopter, landed on the field.
So they're trying to make some moves, trying to build a recruiting Death Star out there.
Yeah.
Already picked up a couple.
They're doing it so far.
So they picked up a couple of flips from his former staff at SMU. But as to the question, doesn't matter. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we're going to stick with the Big 12 here, and it was the Butt Bowl. The question was, who throws for more yards, Texas Tech or Baylor? And how about them Bears? They squeak it out 27-24. And, I mean, going out of state here, Oklahoma State wins Bedlam, and here they go.
Yep.
On to the conference
Baylor's
championship
into the
game.
conference championship game. The answer was actually, I was wrong. Donovan Smith threw for more yards. How about that?
Interesting.
262 to 254. Tech gave them everything they wanted. Give a lot of credit to Tech.
Yeah.
And now Sonny, I think Sonny, the new report is our Mike Craven is confirming that that Sonny Cumbie, who was going to be the offensive coordinator at Tech for Joey McGuire, is now going to be the head coach at Louisiana Tech, taking over Skip Holtz. So congratulations to him. I think obviously Louisiana Tech saw what he did, or at least in part, saw what he did down the stretch as the interim and was impressed. For Baylor, I don't think they can beat Oklahoma State without Gary Bohannon, and especially in a healthy Gary Bohannon and an effective Gary Bohannon, because Oklahoma State's gonna key on their not keep them from running the ball and stuff like that. That's going to be the real key for them. If Gary Bohannon plays, I think they've got a good opportunity to win the Big 12, but a lot of it comes down to his availability. We still don't know what the case is there. Blake Shapen was fine, but he is not. That you got to have somebody who can challenge you vertically more than Blake Shapen does. That's going to be the real question in this one. But Baylor's on to the Big 12 championship game. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but it was effective, and so they get the win. What's next, Pickle?
Up next to the AAC we go. The question was, should Marcus Jones get Heisman consideration? And Houston started off a little rough, but got what they needed to get done, 45-17 against an awful UConn team. It was a
weird game. They pulled away, and
which is all you asked for.
And that's that's the end of the end of it. What I would look at is as far as look, you asked the question, what were should he get defense or Heisman consideration? I say, of course, yes, he should. He is outstanding. He did not have an unbelievable game. I believe he had 2 tackles. He did have 4 pass breakups because they don't throw at him anymore. I think Marcus Jones is a dynamo. I've mentioned that. They go into the American Athletic Conference Championship game. I would say I haven't seen the line yet. I presume they are pretty significant underdogs.
Yeah,
probably by 10 points, I would guess, because they got to go on the road to Cincinnati, which is not going to be any sort of treat, and they're going to be straight up playing for a college football playoff spot. So you're going to get their best. You're going to get everything they got.
Right.
But
you're in the game.
You're there, and a big reason why is Marcus Jones. So, yeah. What's next, Pick? 11-1, by the way.
Do what?
11-1.
Yeah.
After
we literally buried them after week 1.
Let's not gloss over this. They started 0-1 and they rattled off 11 straight.
Yeah.
That's super
unbelievable.
Impressive. What's next, Pick?
Up next, back to Conference USA. How much does this game matter to Rice and Hoot? 35-31. They beat Louisiana Tech, which is a terrible team, but Rice went out there and scored 35 points and got the win.
They scored late to get the win. And look, for Rice, again, they're not necessarily in the business of complaining about they're not necessarily in the business of complaining about how they get their wins, right? This is a program that just needs to see like upward mobility. That's what they want to see. And look, it's a small thing, but this is the most wins that Mike Bloomgren's ever had at Rice. They go 4-8, And I know you're thinking, okay, well, who cares? They went, 2-11 in 2018. They went 3-9 in 2019. Then there was the Rona season where they go 2-3, right? I think that matters, and I think that for that program, they can say that they're moving in the right direction,
step by step.
It's slow, and it's going to be slow going, but and they're going to be moving into a conference in the American Athletic Conference that is going to be interesting. I think that is going to help Mike Bloomgren kind of sell his ability to keep his job, simply because do you really want to be going through some sort of transition if we're heading in the right direction as we're going into a new conference? So, yeah, look, it's a step in the right direction. They came up with big plays down the stretch to win the game. They closed, and that's a sign of a team that's growing. So, once again, Bryce finishes strong. They've done that the past couple of years. It's weird.
Yep.
Anyway, what's next, Pickle?
Up next, sticking with Conference USA, the question was, what is the key for North Texas to ruin UTSA's perfect season? And with a 45-23 win, we call.
Well, we said start fast
Mm-hmm.
and make Frank Harris beat you.
And they did just that.
They
the
did exactly
defense got into the backfield so many times for sacks, and that score is not indicative of how that game actually happened. That was garbage time.
They ran out to a lead, and then they just kind of traded scores the rest of the way.
Yep.
It was awfully impressive, and so they're going to go bowling, or at least they're bowl eligible, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
At 6-6 after rattling off 5 straight wins to get there. Including knocking off what's probably going to be the conference champion.
And they were a nationally ranked opponent stepping into Apogee.
Yeah. Incredibly impressive. And once again, like I would love to go back, and we'll do this during the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what they do in the first quarter versus like how it affects the entire game.
Right.
Because I would guess that in their wins,
110%.
they are winning the first quarter by about 7 to 10 points on average, and I would guess that in their losses
they were down
losing,
by almost 21 every single
like
time.
by 10 to 15 on average. Yeah. So I want to go and look at that, but for North Texas, it's just a matter of starting fast, and they go and they hand UTSA their first and only loss of the regular season.
Right, and it's just so frustrating of like, where
was
this the rest of the season?
Could have been. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's go with, is this Jake Spavital's last game at Texas State? And, I mean, another one where it's like, where was this the rest of the season? 24-22, they take down Arkansas State.
On the road, and I told you, I said no on our burning questions, if you remember. I said I don't think so. I think they're going to hang on to him for at least another year. I think they're going to have some changes, but they ended up, coming away with a win. Look, the offense was not anything to write home about in this game. It was pretty bad.
Yep.
But at the same time, they came up with the big plays when it mattered. The defense stepped up in a big way whenever they mattered. They won on the margins, and they were able to really kind of dominate time of possession in this game and keep the ball away from Arkansas State. And so I think he's going to keep his job. I think they're going to hang on to him for one more year, if anything, because I think that the coaching change market is so saturated right now that this is probably not a great time to be changing coaches.
No.
I think they're going to hang on to him. And that's look, obviously he can say that we're moving in the right direction because we kind of finished strong. I think they won 2 of their last 3. That's good news for a program that desperately needs it. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, it was our small school game of the week, a playoff game. Who you got, Lumberjacks or Cardinals? And Incarnate Word.
A thriller.
An absolute thriller in overtime, beats SFA 35-28.
Yeah, in overtime. A fantastic
Big
game.
And their first one in program history, you said,
correct? It was their first playoff game in program history. It's their first playoff win in program history. I took the Lumberjacks, so I was wrong. And credit to Incarnate Word. I wondered.
They got a big one coming up.
They got a big one coming up, but like I thought that the defense played particularly well. We knew the offense was going to be fine. We knew they were going to be okay as long as they could protect Cam Ward, and they were able to protect him relatively. But in the end, it was the defense that made plays, and the defense that did the difference, which is always kind of the question with that program. They're going to need an even better effort this week.
Yes.
They're going to need to be even better.
They're going to need to play the game of their lives next week.
Exactly right, against Sam. But
got there.
There's a program that's got confidence, and a program that gets an opportunity to play I think Sam's still the number 1 team in the nation, or at least top 3 team in the nation.
I think
you get an opportunity, and they've already beaten one former Southland opponent. Now they get another one.
Yep.
What's next, Pickle?
Finally, and I'll give you, I never like to do this, but I'll give you credit on this because you called this months ago. The question was, is Texas A&M walking into a bear trap on Saturday night? And with a final score of 27-24, yep. We said this would happen. And the way that it happened, too, was just the icing on the cake. Like, how?
I thought... Let me make some Aggie friends. I thought that was the worst play-calling performance of Jimbo Fisher's career.
Terrible.
I thought it was astonishingly bad. and I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if maybe he saw something on film that I didn't see, but the insistence to go away from what was working, to go away from Devon Chan, and to go away from the running game, and to instead put the game in the hands of your still backup quarterback.
We've been saying that all year.
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. An astonishingly bad play calling game from Jimbo Fisher. And look, for all the reasons that we thought this game could be hairy, right? This is a team playing for their coach who's already fired. It's a night game in Death Valley. Those are genuinely pretty tough. Playing for bowl eligibility. And LSU came out and socked them in the mouth. A&M got off the mat and came back and took the lead, but then they gave up that late drive. And I was really flabbergasted by the play calling. I really was. And I want to go back. I'll go back during the offseason and take a look at the rest of the games and kind of chart it for my own edification. But I think Jimbo Fisher had a pretty bad year. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I think he had a pretty bad year.
Well, who sent did you see the tweet that went out about, like, comparing him to Kevin Sumlin's resume since he's been there?
They have the same record. Yeah. I don't know. It's super disappointing. It's super disappointing that this was a team that we thought had legit college football playoff aspirations for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Like, not only the talent, but also the schedule. That for all the talk that's going on for A&M about, like, the recruiting that's going on, and yeah, they're killing on the recruiting trail. Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter if you can't
They've
go develop
been killing it on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, if you can't
develop
develop
and if you can't turn it into wins, what's it matter? And by the way, your schedule is not going to be this soft again for a long time.
Yeah, that was your gift given to you.
We'll get into it in our postmortems, but like, I feel like we're not talking enough about what a superb disappointment this season is for A&M. To go 8-4, we were sitting here in the office the whole offseason saying, man, if they win less than 10 games, it would be pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Because of the lily soft schedule they had.
Well,
now, they had injuries, and I'm sympathetic to that. But at the same time, you got to, first of all, like for all the recruiting we had, A&M had, what do you have to show for it as far as quarterback is concerned? If one guy goes down, your freshman quarterback goes down, and you're suddenly like, oh, well, we don't really have a plan.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really, I don't know. We'll get into it in the postmortems, but at 8-4, I just don't see how anybody can look at this. I mean, they didn't play Georgia. They did not play Florida, although Florida was down, right?
Tennessee, they did not.
No, they didn't play Tennessee. I don't believe. Maybe they did. I would need to look at their schedule. I don't know who they played from the East. I know they didn't play Georgia, who's the big bad wolf, right? They played Mizzou. It's terrible. And then, by the way, they got Alabama at home, and they ended up winning that game.
Well,
they ended up losing 4 games to teams from the SEC West, and they beat Alabama and Auburn.
I was going to say, that's the other thing that, like, Texas A&M cannot get in the same mindset that was the way of Texas and OU for a little bit, of if you go beat each other, that saves your job. Like, we don't really care about the rest of the season, and it's like, it seems like it's morphing into that, like, oh, well, it was an 8-4 season, but he beat Alabama. Like, you cannot fall into that mindset.
I don't know. I thought that was a supremely disappointing result for A&M on Saturday night. Anyway, that's college football burning questions.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.